Did you know that when you buy a new Windows computer, you could actually be using a version of Windows that doesn't allow you to actually use the computer the way you think you should? It's called S mode, and it's Microsoft's way of trying to minimize the potential for you to cause damage to your own computer. Whether the S stands for store mode, safety mode, secure mode, or even senior mode, that remains to be seen. If you know, let me know down in the comments. And even though all new modern computers now come preloaded with Microsoft Defender, whether you want it or not, this variant of Windows called S Mode is supposed to offer you additional security and additional protection on your computer. And a lot of users might not even realize that they have a computer with S Mode enabled. Think of it more like Chrome OS versus the normal version of Windows you might be used to. It was first introduced in Windows 10 back in 2017, and it's likely to be around for a while. But should you use it? Now, for this explainer, understand that when I'm talking about Windows S Mode, I'm not talking specifically for Windows 10 or Windows 11. Almost all of the S Mode limitations apply to both Windows 10 and Windows 11. Now, if you have Windows 11, you can only have an S Mode enabled machine if you have the Windows Home Edition. Pretty much all versions of Windows 10, Enterprise, Education, Home Edition, and Pro do have the S Mode option. But does it actually do what Microsoft claims it can do? So let's take a deeper look. And whether you think S Mode is good or bad, if you choose not to use it, stick around to the end of the video. I'm going to show you how to disable it very easily with zero damage to your computer. So let's get into it. So first off, what exactly is S Mode? So think of S Mode as regular Windows, except an IT guy looking over your shoulder telling you what is safe and what is not safe to use on your computer. It's designed to let you only download apps and programs directly from the Microsoft Store, which means that Microsoft has tested and verified these apps and then released them for public consumption. So for example, if you wanted to download a program like Malwarebytes, which is not in the store, or Google Chrome, you can't. With S Mode enabled, you also can't access the Windows registry to make system changes or tweaks. Another problem is you also lose access to the command line, which means you can't run basic commands like check disk, system file checker, any of those things. You also lose the ability to use any kind of code editors or terminal window applications. The good news is that the majority of people out there who are novice users probably aren't going to do many of those things. But in a situation where you have a Windows problem, you might need to use that command line to troubleshoot the problem. And with S Mode enabled, you're not going to be able to. So users are restricted to using Microsoft Defender only for your antivirus program. The good news is if S Mode actually prevents malware, Microsoft Defender should be plenty for the average person. So according to Microsoft, and I'm quoting, Windows S Mode keeps users safer by allowing only approved apps and gives limited access to the system. Wait a minute, limited access to your own computer? Yes. So is S Mode really that bad? Well, yes and no. Let me explain. While Windows S Mode does limit what you can do on your own computer, in theory, it does make it safer and actually perform a little bit better. So for example, if you wanted to install a different web browser than the Microsoft Edge that you're forced to use as default, you can do that because those apps are in the Microsoft Store. Unfortunately, you can't make those apps your default web browsers because S Mode is going to prevent that. Now, that's not really that big of a deal, but it is a little annoying. Now, if you need to install an external device like a webcam or a printer or something like that, you can do the majority of those things in S Mode. But not every peripheral is guaranteed to work in S Mode. Now, Microsoft has a web page dedicated to the S Mode compatibility for peripherals. I'll link that down in the description for you. You might want to check that out before buying a new computer with Windows S Mode enabled. So S Mode is really designed for students, businesses, organizations that have generally a central IT staff that can manage these machines. S Mode is good for that. There's a lot of people out there who are novice users, and there's older folks out there who maybe don't fully grasp the dangers of the internet when they click on one link over another. Now, Microsoft claims that S Mode, by design, prevents malware or viruses from running on an S Mode enabled machine. Well, I'm not 100% sure that's true, and I'm going to show you something that might make you rethink that, but more on that in a minute. My biggest issue with S Mode is the inability to tweak your PC at all. An example of how irritating that is one of my most recent videos where I show you how to restore your Windows 11 right-click context menu back to the traditional Windows 10 context menu. That's actually done by running a registry script and actually entering information into your Windows registry. But with S Mode enabled, again, you can't do that because registry access is disabled. And therefore, in that case, you're stuck with the default Windows 11 context menu. Another potential downside to S Mode is that you are stuck with Microsoft Bing as your default search engine, whether you like it or not. And even with the new AI enhancements in Bing, some people just don't like it. So are there any real benefits to using Windows S Mode? Well, I think S Mode is a decent solution for people who don't want to focus on computer security. Maybe they only do one or two things. Maybe it's a work machine. They don't dabble on the internet. They don't have any of that stuff. They just use it for a specific purpose and don't really need to be able to make any changes to their computer. S Mode's not a bad idea. It's definitely going to help them stay a little safer. So it does make your computer a little bit safer if you can live with the inconveniences. So what are the other benefits of S Mode? Well, because Windows S Mode runs basically a lighter version of Windows, you're not going to have all those background processes that normally take up memory and processor power. So you will have a faster computer. Also, if you have a laptop, because those processes aren't running, you're likely to have better battery life because there's not as much going on. Now lastly, S Mode does allow for better IT management, as I said before. So if you're in a situation where you have an IT staff who has a bunch of computers on S Mode, they can manage those machines remotely and they don't even have to be at that machine. So for those environments, S Mode is actually a quality feature. So if S Mode sounds good to you, the good news is that you can enable it in Windows 10. The bad news is if you have a Windows 10 machine that formerly was in S Mode and is now in normal mode, you're going to have to completely reinstall Windows from scratch in order to get your Windows S Mode back. Now there is a way to restore any version of Windows to S Mode. According to Microsoft, it can be done, and I have a website link to how to do that. I'll put that in the description, but it's not for the faint of heart, and trust me, it's not simple. But it can be done. So how do you know if you're in S Mode? Well, first of all, without even looking at your system settings, if you try to install an application, you're going to get a message similar to this indicating that this is not a Microsoft approved application. That's the first obvious clue. But to be sure, here's what you do. From your Windows search bar, you're going to type in WINVER and then click on WinVer where it says Run Command. You'll get a pop-up like this, and you can see in the middle of the screen it says this Windows system is in S Mode. So what do you do if you have a Windows 10 S Mode enabled machine, but you don't want S Mode and you just want to have a normal working machine that you have complete control of? It's relatively easy to do, and I'm going to show you how to do that right here. But be aware, Microsoft says once you switch out of S Mode, you can't go back. That's not entirely true. You could reinstall your complete operating system with the S Mode and it will come back. But there's no way to easily toggle it on and off to try it out. So just be aware of that. Now, S Mode is actually enabled from your computer manufacturer. So if, for example, you did a full system recovery using your manufacturer's recovery software, you would be able to get S Mode back. That's basically the only way to do it if you didn't want to follow Microsoft's detailed instructions. Let's forget all that. Let's go ahead and disable S Mode. In your search box, type in Activation and click on Activation Settings. Your Windows activation screen will come up and you'll see S Mode right in the middle of the screen there. Click on the down arrow and then click on Open Store and you'll get a pop-up like this. You can double check the features that are included with S Mode before you absolutely go ahead and commit to this. Once you're 100% sure, click on the blue Get button. And then you're done. You switch out of S Mode, click Close. You can close the Microsoft Store and now you can download anything you want on your computer. Now, part of the reason I made this video, aside from people getting a computer that they can't use the way they want to use it, is a recent experience I had with a client's S Mode enabled machine. So this was a Windows 11 laptop with S Mode enabled. She claimed that she got a pop-up window while she was using her computer, indicating possible ransomware. Turns out it was just a website pop-up. After restarting, it didn't come back. I didn't think anything else about it. But the machine did run a little more sluggish than usual after that restart. So I wanted to scan and see if there was any malware on the machine somehow. But because the machine was in S Mode, I couldn't even scan for bugs other than to take her hard drive out of her computer and scan it that way. So I had a gut feeling. I disabled S Mode so that I could evaluate and scan her computer and see what the problem was. I downloaded, installed, and ran a scan with Malwarebytes, which is a very trusted program that I've used for years. What the scan found actually blew me away. There were about 30 files on her computer that were labeled malware or potentially unwanted programs. So after removing all the malware and restarting her computer, the machine started acting normal again and it wasn't sluggish anymore. But that got me thinking, how secure is this S-Mode enabled machine? And so that's why I made this video today. Whatever she had downloaded on her computer, whether it ran or not, was easily bypassing Windows Defender. So in that case, what was the real benefit of having a more secure system? So to be fair, I can't say that she actually got infected in the truest sense of the word. What I can say is that malware somehow bypassed the Windows Defender and got on her computer, but because she was in S mode, according to Microsoft, that shouldn't happen. Now, maybe nothing in S mode prevents malware from being downloaded, maybe just prevents it from running. That still seems a little dangerous to me. Either way, I think she would have been better off with a fully functioning machine, not in S mode, where she can choose the antivirus program or the anti-malware program that she wanted to use, instead of just letting Microsoft tell her she was okay. So the biggest question is, should I or should I not run S mode? Well, that really depends on your specific needs. So if just about everything you do in your daily usage is using an app that's available in the Microsoft Store, and you consider yourself a relatively safe computer user, S mode is probably going to work okay for you. For most people, it's actually going to make your computer run a little bit better. And again, with laptops, you might see an increase in battery life. But you also have to contrast that with your ability to do whatever you want to your computer, make changes, tweak it, whatever. So you have to weigh both options. It's really a trade-off. And if you don't want to or can't figure out how to create that Windows installation disk for your existing Windows 10 home computer, but you want the features found in S mode, your only real solution is to make sure you purchase another computer that is purposefully S mode enabled. Either that or pay a local IT guy to go through all that Microsoft mess and create the Windows installation for you with S mode enabled. Long story short, I don't think S mode is horrible. I think it has its place. In principle, it's a good concept, and I'd rather have a machine that comes from the factory in S mode and disable it if necessary than to not have the option at all. I still think Microsoft should make it to where you can toggle that mode on or off. I think that would be pretty smart. And if they're so concerned about user security, to me that makes sense. So what are your thoughts on S mode? Did you even know it exists? Do you think it would be better or worse for you for your daily needs? I'm curious to see what you think, so leave me a comment down below. We'll see you next time.